Hey everybody, what's going on? It's PMOC at 86 Drive, Tech Edition. For this installment, I wanted to talk about just a few little mods and tweaks that I've added recently for my computers. Just some things to make the usability a little bit better, just improve the overall experience for me, whether for gaming or productivity. So I'll talk about a few different things. As I mentioned before, I have the Logitech gaming keyboard for my gaming PC, which I like a lot. This one is the Logitech G513, and it has blue keyboard switches, which is a nice clicky and tactile feel, which I really like. Now, I liked the mechanical feel of the Logitech keyboard so much that I decided I wanted to try and get something similar for my work setup. So I had watched one of the Linus Tech Tip videos. Maybe it was a short circuit video, but anyways, they talked about the Keychron K4 keyboard, which is a very compact mechanical keyboard with lots of features like it's got hot-swappable switches, it's got RGB lighting, it's wireless, so lots of neat little features. It's also very compact, and yet still has the number pad, the 10 key pad built in. So you can see it's a very tight form factor, but it manages to get nearly all of the functional keys that you would need for a regular working keyboard to fit into a fairly small, compact form factor. So I really liked the sound of that, so I decided to give it a try. I ended up getting the K4 with brown switches. They're Gateron brown switches, which is meant to be still tactile like a blue key, but less clicky. So the sound is a little bit quieter and sounds a little bit different. I'm still getting used to it. I'm not sure how I feel about the brown switches versus the blue ones. I think I definitely prefer the blue ones for both their feel and their sound a bit more than the brown switches, but I'll continue trying them out and seeing if I can get used to these. And if not, it is a hot swappable keyboard, so if I wanted to go to blue switches, I can do that. Or even try out some different brands or types of switches. I wasn't planning on doing a full review of this keyboard, but I'll just talk about a few of the things that I like and don't like about them. Obviously, there are a ton of online reviews here on YouTube. If you're interested in the keyboard, you can search for other people's reviews about this keyboard. I guess one of the biggest criticisms I have about this keyboard is that the RGB lighting is not really that bright. I understand that it's a wireless keyboard, so it's probably never going to be able to be as bright as a wired keyboard. My Logitech keyboard is wired and the lights on it are very bright. I think it kind of sets the standard for what keyboard lighting should be like. Unfortunately, the Keychron keyboard doesn't quite live up to that standard. But it wasn't a key consideration when I was looking for a keyboard, so it's not a big deal. I probably, for the most part, will keep the RGB lighting off or use a very subtle kind of lighting scheme, since this is, after all, a work keyboard. The main reason I bought this keyboard was more for the mechanical keys and the tactile feedback of typing on a mechanical keyboard. So for that, I think the keyboard does a really good job. I'm not sure how I feel about the brown switches and the sounds that they make. And actually the feel of the keys isn't as good as the clicky blue switches on the Logitech keyboard. But like I said, I'll keep trying it for a while and see if I get used to it. The other thing that took some getting used to is the fact that this keyboard sits so high up. It's probably about an inch or an inch and a half tall, which is much higher than the low profile keyboard that I was using before. And in fact, it's so high up that I felt like I needed to get a wrist rest in order to allow your wrist to get some comfort while typing. So I picked up this Grifiti fat wrist pad that a friend recommended, and I think it works fairly well with this keyboard. It's the right height and thickness, and it's got the right width to fit for this style of keyboard as well. What I do like about this keyboard, I think it's got just, an old school kind of mechanical keyboard vibe to it in the styling. It's just very subdued looking with the gray keys, and yet sort of distinctive looking with the slightly different shades of gray for different keys. And then a splash of color with the corner keys. The escape button and the lighting control button are both available with orange keycaps. And those keycaps are a little bit translucent, so they show light shining through them a little bit differently than the other keys do. So that's a nice effect. And I guess those orange keycaps are kind of a trademark look for the Keychron keyboards. If the orange keycaps aren't your thing, they do include a set of gray keycaps for those two keys as well. My first choice when I was shopping for this keyboard would have been to pick up one with just white backlighting, but unfortunately that wasn't available. They were out of stock at the time that I ordered this keyboard, and so the RGB was the only model that was available, so I went for that. And right here you can see that when you switch it to a solid lighting mode, it seems like the closest approximation to white that you can get on this particular keyboard seems to be a more pinkish white color. It's not really white, but you can toggle between a few different colors and change it. So I can always leave it on a solid color like this blue. Oh, and in terms of wireless keyboard life, pretty good, I think. When I first received the keyboard, I plugged it in and made sure it was fully charged. The internal battery lasted about a week and a half before the low battery indicator light came on. It's a blinking red light that's on the side that will tell you when you're low on juice and it needs to be recharged. So I think a week and a half is a fairly good length of time for a keyboard to last without charging. And I think that's about all I'm going to say about the keyboard for now. Like I said, if you want to learn more about it, you can either go to the Keychron website or you can look on YouTube for various other reviews from other people that are much more knowledgeable about these mechanical keyboards than I am. I also picked up a dual arm monitor stand for my gaming PC so that I can have two monitors side by side and have them properly mounted at the right height above my desk. I think it works really well to keep the monitors at the right height for my viewing and yet keep the desk kind of clear of clutter. I'll show you what it looks like from the back. This is what the monitor arms look like. You'll have to excuse the wiring. It's a little messy back here. But I think the arms work really well, holding these two monitors. You can see it just clamps to the back side of the desk. And I'll put a link in the description below to the specific monitor mount that I bought. I also picked up a Cooler Master addressable RGB GPU support. That's a mouthful, but yeah, that's going to help me reduce GPU sag within the computer. And it also comes with some pretty lights to bling up the inside of the computer case. My 3070 graphics card, the GPU, was sagging a little bit in the case. And so I think someone had commented on one of my videos, hey, you've got some serious graphics card sag. You should get some sort of support for that. And I had noticed that as well. So I finally got around to getting a support for that. And I decided to go with the Cooler Master GPU support, which is made of tempered glass. And it looks pretty nice. It's made of glass. It has a plastic clip that kind of clips on and supports your GPU. It's adjustable, it's height adjustable, so you can slide it up and down on the glass portion to accommodate whatever height or case you happen to have. However your GPU is oriented, you can adjust the clip for that. So fairly simple in design and pretty straightforward to install. So here's the PC before I install the support. And we're going to go ahead and install the GPU bracket. And ta-da! Anyways, now you can see that there's a lot less sag with the GPU. The graphics card is sitting nice and straight. So I'm really glad to have installed that. I think it's going to make a huge difference in preserving the longevity of this GPU and the motherboard. I should mention that the GPU support is fully RGB, so you can change it to whatever color you want. I, of course, am sticking with some very basic colors. Pretty much going to keep it a solid color, so for now it's just going to be white along with the rest of the lighting that I have going on the case. So here's what it looks like with the tempered glass cover back on the PC case. The glass is a little smoked, so it kind of dims the light a little bit. So I'll also show you what it looks like with the glass off. You can see obviously the light is a bit brighter. If you're curious how you control the colors, you use the Aura Sync software. I did a previous video on that, how to control the colors inside your PC case using the software application from ASUS. It's called Aura Sync. I believe it's being replaced now with a newer version of the software called Armory Crate. But I like the original software, the Aura Sync. It just seems a little more simplistic for me. I think Armory Crate brings a few more features and frills that I don't necessarily need or want, so I'm just sticking with the older version of the software. And you can still, for a limited time, I think, still get the older version of the software from their website. And lastly, I also picked up an HDMI switch, just a simple piece of hardware really, but what the switch does is gives me the ability to quickly switch between displays. So, you know, when I normally have the two sort of computer monitors side by side at my desk for most gaming and computing use, but when I want to start playing driving sims like Assetto Corsa, I go over to the big screen TV, which is where my steering wheel and pedals rig is set up. And so I have the switch in order to be able to just easily switch the display output over to the TV instead of having to unplug and plug in a different HDMI cable at the PC. It's a pretty simple setup. It takes one input from the PC and splits it out to two different outputs, controlled by the switch here, which is this button right here. So I can push that and it changes the display between one or the other output. So one of these cables runs out to the TV and the other one connects to the monitor, the second monitor that's right here at the desk. So as you can see right now, the switch is set to the local monitor, and I'll push this button and it deactivates that screen. and it turns on this one. I haven't figured out where I'm going to put it yet, but for now it's just sitting on top of my desk within reach so that I can toggle it whenever I want to fairly easily. But I suppose if you wanted to do a really clean kind of setup, you could tuck the wiring and the switch itself somewhere under the desk, or off to the side somewhere out of sight, where you only need to reach over and toggle it when you need it. Well, that is it for this installment. Thank you as always for watching. Please like and subscribe if you'd like to see more content on topics like this. Until the next time, please stay safe, stay healthy, take care of yourself and your fellow humans. I'm out. I just know someone's going to say, you gotta peel off that protective film. So there you go.